Morning, everyone. LightningESL.com. Job Diaries. Furniture and appliance sales, service, and delivery. Years ago, here in Toronto area, I worked for my father-in-law. He had a furniture and appliance store downtown Toronto. Now, in those days, long before you remember the days, let's go back in time. There was no Leon, there was no The Brick, there was no stores like that, large stores with franchises all across Canada. There were small independent furniture and appliance stores throughout the Toronto area. And the actual locations were all over Toronto because this is a haven for immigrants coming to this country, which is fabulous. People would come in from all over the world to Toronto to live. And how it worked was very, very simple. Immigration Canada set up a system. So let's say I landed or came by boat, whatever it is, to the Toronto area. Okay. They would go to the immigration offices. Immigration Canada would set you up, yourself or your family, set you up in an apartment here in the Toronto area. The apartment was rent-free for 6 months. Yeah. Part of the deal was you would go to local furniture stores in the area of the immigration office, and you get a list of things. So, for example, let's say you came in as an immigrant with yourself and your wife, just two of you. So you have a piece of paper, and a list of furniture stores on this piece of paper. And when you go to that store, A store, let's say A, you went to store number A, and in there you had a list on your paper that said, okay, one table, one lamp, one chair, one set of bed materials. Also, on the same piece of paper was another store you would go to for linens, pots and pans, cutlery, dishes, and so on. So the government of Canada set you up for 6 months, free, and a place to live. They gave you also necessary things for your location where you're living. Like I said, pots and pans, linens, furniture, and so on. So yours truly working for my father-in-law, he said, try it out. So I went to work with my father-in-law's store, all right? It was just downtown Toronto. And my job was to accept immigrants coming to the store, help do deliveries, set up furniture like bunk beds, things like that, drive around, bring into apartments, sometimes houses, and also at the same time sell products in his store. Now his furniture store was downtown on Queen Street, all right? If you know the area of Toronto, well, it's Queen and University area, all right? And he was very, very successful. My father was an immigrant himself from Poland. And you have to remember, only an immigrant understands how an immigrant thinks. I'll say again. Only an immigrant understands how an immigrant thinks and acts. I'm not an immigrant. I was born and raised in Toronto. However, my father, being an immigrant, understood this. He understands the philosophy, the feelings coming to a new country. You're scared. There's a culture shock, traditions, culture, native language, and so on. My father-in-law could speak 4 or 5 languages. Yeah. He spoke Russian, Polish, English, Hebrew, Czechoslovakian, let's see what else. Slavic language, a lot of them. So a lot of immigrants came in. They aren't all of that area part of the world, no. But he had incredible street sense. Street sense simply means understanding, empathy, how you feel, how you act as an immigrant. Because he was one. Big advantage. My father-in-law used to stand on the sidewalk with his cigarette like this, I'm not kidding, and he could see immigrants walking by, carrying that piece of paper from Immigration Canada. So it come to many stores in the list, like I said earlier, and they came in our store, and we would recognize right away with their piece of paper from Immigration Canada, they were entitled to this chair, this lamp, this table, etc. And yours truly, with my brother-in-law and other people, would deliver this furniture and so on to their location. We would set up bunk beds, we would set up frames for beds, and so on. It was amazing the smile on their faces coming to a country like Canada, and all this was free. I mean, it wasn't state-of-the-art materials, but it was all brand new. Yeah, it wasn't the best of the best. It was particle board sometimes, very cheap wood, very cheap this, whatever, but it was all free. Sometimes they would cry in our arms. Sometimes they would cry when we get to the location. Because a lot of times they came from bad areas of the world, under military rule, under desperation, whatever. And sometimes we would take them in our truck or our car, or we'd meet them there at a certain time and date. Sometimes parts of the city were dangerous, yeah. So yours truly stayed with the truck or car while the other workers went inside. But overall, it was very, very successful. My father-in-law was very, very successful doing this. Sometimes we would go to the actual factory itself and pick up desks and tables and lamps and chairs long before 6 a.m. Yeah, we'd pick it up, cut back on the cost of delivery of these merchandise, bring it to the store, and set up for delivery. Sometimes we had 10 deliveries a day. Sometimes we had 20 deliveries a day. We picked refrigerators also, stoves, yeah, all kinds of things. He had a station wagon, which opened up this way and that way and so on. We put all kinds of things inside the station wagon, above the station wagon, held down by ropes, yeah. In wintertime, we had sometimes a plastic tarp over everything covered down with ropes and so on. But I learned so much about immigrants, how they think, street sense, how people sell merchandise, help people that is with merchandise, and so on. Many, many times my father-in-law gave away things for free, totally free. Yeah. So again, as I mentioned earlier, immigrants understand immigrants, how they think, act, and feel. All right? And if you're in that situation helping others, it's a win-win. I soaked all this information in. I loved my father-in-law like crazy because I learned so much about how to treat people properly. As I said just earlier, many times an immigrant would come in, I want that table, I want that chair because of the list. That's fine. My father-in-law would throw an extra table, an extra chair, an extra lamp. Sometimes he actually paid for food for the immigrant family. Really. Because sometimes they would cry their eyes out because they were so happy to receive all this merchandise and stuff for free. So I learned a lot, like I said, from my father-in-law. Some you can't learn from a book. You can't learn from the internet. You have to experience it like I did. Yes. So yes, I worked in a furniture store selling appliances and such. Now what I want to mention also is, during my time working in the furniture store, my father-in-law, I took a course here in Toronto, Appliance Service course, a course at George Brown College. So many, many times I was taking this course, I would work on the weekends at the store, so that if my father-in-law sold a brand new, let's say, refrigerator or stove or whatever, I would go with a delivery and bring back the old stove, electric stove, or refrigerator back to the shop. In other words, back to the store. And basically the back of the store was like a service area. And yours truly would fix the electrical stove, new wires and so on. And I'd resell that old stove on the floor of the store. So I was learning how to take care of myself when it comes to repairing appliances. And I would help my father-in-law sell the merchandise on the store floor. Whatever I sold, I got to keep this cash. It was a win-win. Some people did not want a brand new electrical stove. They wanted a used one. So there's an example. Here was a guy, a certified appliance service, Mr. Little, and I repaired the unit right on the floor of his store, and I would sell it. It was a win-win situation. Amazing, isn't it? This is lightingasl.com. Appliance and furniture store, sales, service, and delivery. Thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.